Alrighty, ladies and gents, this is episode 145 of the Good Old Bloody Films podcast. Joining me as always, co-host extraordinaire C.H. Gorog.
Hello, hello. How's everyone doing?
Hope you're doing well out there, and I am, and always, I am Splinter47 for the joining you guys for the day after Thanksgiving, the good old Turkey Day, as we like to call it here.
Turkey cannibalism is the day that is known all around the world as Thanksgiving here in America. We don't know how it got started as just Thanksgiving, but I guess we can just go along with our tradition. Our tradition sounds a little bit better in terms of naming things.
That's how we roll. I mean, that's the American dream.
With Thanksgiving especially, Thanksgiving is kind of a contentious holiday just because of the fact that we have a lot of people saying Native Americans essentially, this is like this celebrating something that was completely made up. That is that we'd never really said, like, all the iconography that we have of like sitting down with Native Americans and sharing food. It's like, no, we just shared blankets full of smallpox, but and then gave the Indians about $20 for Ellis Island. So I'm not really sure. Some people are like, this is just kind of wrong to still celebrate it and kind of American gluttony. But I gotta say, it hasn't been for the other holidays either, like Halloween or even Christmas, where it's Halloween's sort of a pagan holiday that just kind of carried on over, and then Christmas is entirely strange because it's all about the birth of Christ, which did not happen on December. And it was essentially just done so that pagan holidays can kind of fall by the wayside, that we would just absorb their rituals and people and their crowds that they got.
Funny how that happens, but the one good thing about it is, I mean, if you're lucky enough to get off work during those holidays, you're more than welcome to celebrate.
Yeah, and if you're, I assume some of you are still over at the Best Buy or Neiman Marcus or the Joseph A. Bank, special sales that they got going on there. And if you're just listening to this after you've done all that, I am so sorry that your employers are forcing you to work on this day, and Thanksgiving as well for Black Friday. So more power to you, and I hope they're compensating you well.
Yeah, hopefully. It's crazy during that time of Black Friday. I mean, yesterday I went to. It was not a wise decision, but I had to go ahead and restock on some whipped cream, and that's how I do. So I went to.
Having a hot date that night?
No, I wish. No.
Chobot coming on by for a little getting turkey.
Maybe. I can't say much. I gotta keep it on the DL.
I got you.
No, I went to Walmart real quick, and it was just packed with people. I've never seen so many people in one location there. It was crazy. People are already lined up for these deals. They have stocks. They have just carts full of shit that they're looking to get deals on, which is crazy to me because they'll end up spending a lot more money than they actually save in the end, thinking they're saving something, which I'm sure they are, but they're spending a lot. American consumerism at its best there.
Yes, indeed, and it's kind of. I don't know. It was kind of weird how Black Friday kind of turned into this thing that people started to notice in the news, and you're just like, okay, it's kind of a cultural phenomenon that people just start lining up for these huge deals and then stampede over each other violently for like a Cabbage Patch doll or whatever the kids love these days. And then and now it's like even in the marketing where there's like there was something of I think it was like Macy's, where it's like a commercial where like two girls were dancing around with shopping bags and wearing black dresses and black shoes, and it was talking about like Black Friday. They didn't say Black Friday, but it was basically saying like, hey, guess what? It's Black Friday. Come and celebrate on this particular day. And so now they got even the corporations involved with the marketing of this thing. And I think it's kind of getting out of hand, first off, because of the fact that they're making all their employees work on Thanksgiving, or at least work during the nighttime, where that should kind of be like dinner and celebrating with one's family. And as it's a national holiday, I still find it very strange that people still work on that day. And then the other one is just like rampant consumerism, as you said so eloquently. It's kind of getting out of hand, where it's not only kind of, I don't know, the status quo, but now it's eking onto any opportunity that they have to market something to sell more shit. And I also learned from my cousin that a lot of times throughout the entire year, stores will mark up prices for things and then merely drop them down to the regular sales price for an item, and then that's how they make most of their money, just because people will buy so much of the quote-unquote discounted item, 60% off, which is really just its actual price.
Yeah.
That's where they make the most of their money. And so it kind of makes me sick to see that kind of consumerism, and that's why I don't usually like brick and mortar.
I don't really partake in it. I never really done it. I've mainly stick with some of the small things here and there. Not even this year. I haven't bought anything this year. I considered buying some things online recently. I missed out on some deals recently. I wanted to get an DMC they had DMC for $10 on Amazon, and through your kind of recommendation and past discussions on it and videos on your YouTube channel, it made me want to go ahead and play it. But I haven't gotten the chance to purchase it because I missed the deal out. But I'm still I'm gonna buy it anyway. I think the lowest I can get it for is $20, which is very good price regardless. And it's new, so I'll definitely go ahead and do that. And that's about it. I mean, I don't really buy movies anymore. Like, I used to collect a lot of DVDs and Blu-rays, but not anymore, because not a lot of movies have come out that interest me enough to purchase the DVDs, and also I could just kind of stream them online. It's much more easier and just saves me some space.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same. Like, I used to be a big movie Blu-ray collector, but now with Netflix and Crackle and Hulu and all these other kind of different programs, any movie that I'm interested in, it's on those programs, and so I don't have to waste space with getting a DVD. And anything that's not on there, I'm not really interested in, or it's just something that really isn't available anywhere. And it's, I don't know, it's sort of this weird thing where DVDs kind of outlived their usefulness for me because of Netflix, and maybe the special edition. Like, I love audio commentaries by directors and writers and the cast, like the Lord of the Rings stuff. I love listening to that, and I was recently listening to Guillermo del Toro on the Pacific Rim DVD, and that was really insightful. But the problem is that I don't listen to it enough. Like, I'm not really interested in, like, I don't know, Made in Manhattan DVD commentary to ever pick that up, or or something like. I assume that, like, Michael Bay's most recent film, Pain and Gain, which is just like his audio commentary is just like him doing several lines of coke and then just screaming into the microphone, because that's essentially what his movie's about. And then it just doesn't make too much sense. I mean, I like the Blu-ray quality, and I'd like to see maybe more of that HD goodness streaming onto Netflix, but DVDs don't exactly excite me the way they used to.
No, not anymore. It depends. It's only if it's something a bit either a bit older, a bit of an older movie, or not as a wide popular movie. Those will probably buy. But it just depends. It depends on the flicks, and like, if it's just like old TV shows that are not available for some reason. I mean, those I'll probably already have. I'll watch those, but I haven't bought anything recently in terms of that, unless it's something that I really enjoyed. But like we mentioned, we could probably get that on the good old Netflix.
Yeah. Netflix is probably one of the biggest time wasters in my entire life, and I don't regret a single moment of it, just because it's introduced me to a lot of interesting stuff, and I gotta say, I do wish that video games would have an equivalent of just being able to stream games from some sort of online service, and you'd have to be connected to get it. But for some reason, there isn't a service for it yet. And I understand maybe the hesitancy because you have to download the entire game to be able to play it fully. Like you wouldn't be able to, I don't know, rent Resident Evil 4 with that good quality, because you would have to be able to, to load very quickly between the places, and just streaming. I can understand the problem. I just can't believe that we haven't found a solution for that yet.
Yeah, technically it could be a bit complex, and this also depends on the amount of bandwidth you have. Could also affect the way you play it. I can't. Doesn't OnLive? I don't know if that's still around, but that was definitely one of those early services of streaming games. I don't know exactly how the process works and what you can or can't do on those, but it would be nice to have some type of service like that. It would be kind of funny. Like you play the game, you don't have good bandwidth. You're playing the game like you watch a YouTube video, so it will go from like a good 720p to all the way to 380p, and then it's just start deteriorating really quick. And just
144p.
And it looks like you're playing it on the original system. By the time your internet's not so good.
I got Xbox One, and now I'm playing it like it's on PS1.
Right. Craziness.
And speaking of which, how do you feel about the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4? Have your opinions changed since they've both been released, or is it kind of still the same?
Honestly, I haven't completely kept up with what's been going on, really. I mean, I probably would say it has changed a little bit. I mean, it's all going to come down sometimes with like the amount of friends you have that have the system, which is going to more than likely gear you towards that console. Right now, I'm kind of leaning towards the Xbox One, even though months ago I said it would be the PS4. I'm almost bought one very, very recently. I almost did, but I'm holding off. Till. I mean, I don't even know if they're available because I haven't bothered to check anywhere. I have seen them on display. They weren't playable, but I've seen them. I've seen the PS4 and the Xbox One on display, but I didn't see any of them available to sell.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I like the features now that I see it more in action there for the Xbox One. Granted, most of that is really just technology for the sake of technology. Like you save yourself a lot of time by just hitting a button rather than just saying a command. Although there may be some instances where you're better off saying those commands rather than typing it in the controller. You know how fun that is, looking up stuff and typing up words and sending messages on the controller. So I think you're better off using that voice command. That's probably will be the only usefulness that you get out of that.
But how can you not immediately want the Xbox One after knowing that it will solely use Internet Explorer for in terms of just going online? It really is just the pinnacle of our age. In fact, it's so timeless, it's still stuck in 1998.
Yeah, it's a shame, but Internet Explorer, I laugh at it.
It's the point where, and I do feel like it's with Internet Explorer and with the Kinect, where Microsoft just thinks that like if they keep plugging at these things, we'll still be happy with them. And apparently, like nobody's happy with the Kinect in terms of how it's come out and kind of its implementation. It's time saving for like inputting codes and some facial recognition stuff, but it's still not like, oh, this is completely next generation. It's still like, okay, there's still a lot of problems, such as apparently from one account, someone was listening to a song, had a song turned up while I was playing Xbox, and the Xbox put him out of his game because the song said the lyric "home," and so the Xbox took him home. And so it's just like one of those things where, okay, unless it's absolutely pitch perfect, I don't really want it implemented. Or it's like, if it's not immediately obvious why I need this, then I'm probably not going to my brother-in-law was talking about when he was, he hasn't been. The last thing I think he purchased was a PlayStation 2, so he was just asking me like, okay, what do you think I should get? And we were going through some of the specs and reviews of each console, and he's like, yeah, this Xbox One is just kind of turning me off. And I think Microsoft is very blind to that, where they're not willing to change, even for their own benefit. That if it's not their name on it, then they will not fall to it.
Yeah, they just implement a lot of stuff that is not necessarily needed, or just some of it that could be better. Like if it was some other console that was kind of Android based, it could have been a bit better, because it gives you a lot more features and customizations of what you want to do with your console. But some of that is proprietary. It doesn't allow you to do much early on. I know there's going to be some stuff going on later on, like just with both consoles. They'll have implementations of expanding the hard drive space, which is crazy that they lock it at 500 gigabytes, which most of that is not used. I think the max you can get out of it's like 394, minus the actual system there. It takes up the space.
Oh, good gosh. It's weird that this is still an issue. That like we don't have enough memory for our games. It's like, are you sure this isn't the N64 like memory pack card like that we can't just slap into the back of the controller? Like, come on, it's 2013, soon to be 2014, and I don't know why I keep saying 2000, and it really should be 2014 or whatever, because we didn't say like 1999. But yeah, it is weird, a lot of the stuff they try to do, and for me, my opinions on both systems are still kind of the same, where it's like this wasn't really necessary. I think this was just kind of, let's include more technology for the sake of it.
Yeah.
And not really have a reason for people to buy. Like for the 360 and PS3, why that was so much better than the original one is like, okay, now we have a good online component that's, really works well. You can download games, you can do this, that, and the other thing. And this one just seems like, okay, now we have better graphics. It's like, okay, and also you don't have backwards compatibility with either system. It's like, are you kidding me? It really, how hard is it? Like, Nintendo kicked your asses in this. It's how is this possible?
It's nuts. I don't know. At this point, I'm not. The only reason I get a new console just to play, I just want to play some of the games. Really, that's what we're here for. Some of the games. I want to play The Witcher 3. I want to play Metal Gear Solid 5. So. Until those.
Well, fortunately for Metal Gear Solid 5 fans, apparently Ground Zeroes is coming out for this current generation, I think only, and then the MGS5 is going to have the the Splinter Cell Double Agent thing, where it's going to be next gen and current gen.
Yeah.
From what I last recall, they might change it. Who knows? They'll probably change it because it's a bad idea to do so, and they'll do it anyway.
I don't know. Right now, from what I've seen, it's coming out on both consoles, coming out on the current and last gen consoles. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I mean, none of the features really, none of them that we were speaking of, like the voice commands, anything else that they're advertising, most of them don't interest me. I just want to play those games that come out for it, pretty much. I mean, just like those games I mentioned, those two games are really looking forward to. Anything else that comes out that's getting any type of positive reviews on, I'll definitely check it out. But right now, just probably will hold off until some of these games start coming out. But that's the only reason I would buy one. I mean, I'm not buying it for the sake of the features or for the sake of brand loyalty or anything like that. I just want to play those games.
Yeah, and it's something interesting that Adam Sessler said about the 360, and I can't really speak to the PlayStation 4 because I don't really own the PlayStation. I don't own the PlayStation 3. I might get it when everyone's gone over to the 4, and I'm like, yeah, finally, it's cheap enough to buy. But it seems like Xbox 360 is like this weird amalgamation of trying to be a game console and a media console, and not really knowing which one to really advertise on, because it's really reliant on being sort of a DVR, a cable box, a video game console. But I already have those things. And a lot of times, from what I hear, they're actually much easier to kind of go through than than the Xbox One has been showcased to. And with the PlayStation 4 kind of recording, gameplay recording thing, and then you can just upload it to Twitch. Apparently, it's actually, you get much higher quality if you used Elgato or something with a little bit more professionalism involved, and rather than just kind of the standard fare. So I don't know who these are marketed to, except for people who just perceive this as the next generation, not really understand that we have a lot more years to go in terms of fixing not only the problems that arose in this generation, but just coming up with new ideas, because there are no new IPs on the new systems that I'm interested in, except for maybe Titanfall. And even then, I'm not like enthusiastic. I'm just like, whatever, it's Titanfall.
Yeah, it's all they both have their uses. From what you mentioned, like Xbox is trying to be even more of a all-in-one entertainment console than it was previously, and PS3 is kind of gravitating more towards the actual gaming community, with just having both having those features on recording your gameplay. I can't say that it hasn't been. I don't think they're live yet with the Twitch stuff, but I haven't seen actually any type of video of how it looks on both systems when they record. But more than likely, I think it's with anything. I think on the PC, if you do it on the PC, you stream or you record your footage from the PC through the Elgato, it's going to look probably better most of the time than those actual consoles. It's like the PC's always been ahead of its time. Like always, it's always been. That's next gen PC. It really is.
Essentially,
if you think about it, because there's always great deals on games on the PC, like crazy cheap.
Yeah, good old games, Steam. Hell, even Amazon Digital has some great stuff, and it's just because PC is, I think they encountered a lot of, like, before going into this generation. I think the PC was kind of looked down upon compared to the new consoles, because of the fact that with consoles it was just very easy to set up and go, and to have everything kind of in a neat little package. But with the rise of Steam, of the death of online passes and DRM, and just a lot of practices that have gone out of fashion. You can the modding community is huge. A lot of indie developers can just automatically put their stuff up through just a small price on Steam or what have you to get their stuff out there, and they don't need huge marketing budgets, and it's just so much easier. And Sony and Microsoft, and not really. I don't even know about Nintendo. Nintendo's like in a different category. Can we just put them off to the side for right now? Yeah,
at this point, they're on the league of their own.
Yeah, I don't know if they're a better or worse league, but they're certainly, like, everyone's it's strange. Like, everyone's playing baseball and they're playing hockey, and it's just like I don't think you're compatible with this conversation right now.
Yeah, just what you're mentioning there. PC. It's. I'm sure this is obvious for some folks. Like I said, they're ahead of the time. They got everything sorted out there. They have better business practices for the most part. All the most part than what's going on with these consoles. They don't nickel and dime you with some of these crazy things like season passes. There's no really season passes for PC games.
Oh God, season pass. And and just because season passes, you're putting a lot of faith into those developers, and a lot of the times it might not do well to do so. But for those poor souls who bought the Aliens Colonial Marine season passes, I am so sorry. Same with the people who did the Saints Row the Third season pass, just because a lot of that was then scrapped and then put into the Saints Row 4, and then I myself was considering getting a season pass for BioShock Infinite, because I love BioShock, I love the series, I love the franchise, I love the Irrational Games, and I love Bioshock Infinite.
Yeah.
But then I played Clash in the Clouds and the first episode of Burial at Sea, and I said to myself, "Wow, this does not justify the price. I've been bamboozled. I've been smaggledorfed on this issue right here, and I will not ever, even if it's from a developer that I trust and know."
How much was the season pass again? Like $25?
Yeah, it wasn't outrageous, but it was still like it still left me wondering, because some of the stuff was. The thing is, like, does the price justify? Like, are you just interested in, like, in Saints Row the Third, just like having costume and vehicle and weapon packs every other week, and is that changing the game enough, or is it like a huge piece of DLC? And the strange thing is, Burial at Sea is just not worth it. It's priced at $15.
Yeah.
It's worth maybe $5, and it was a big waste of money for me, just because. And I was led to believe that this would be good, just because I played Minerva's Den, which was the Bioshock 2 DLC, which is one of the best DLCs I've ever played in my life, single player DLCs, and just. It was fantastic, but then I remembered as I was playing it, playing Burial at Sea, it's like, oh yeah, Minerva's Den was worked on by 2K Marin, and this is done by Irrational, and I just don't think, as much as I love Ken Levine and the obvious detail that went into Burial at Sea, it just was not worth the price tag.
Yeah,
and it's.
I think that aspect could also have an effect on season passes. I think also one of the things that I probably would have been upset about, like, just because, like, when they announced that season pass, they did say they were gonna put out some single player stuff, like the story modes, but it's been very far and few between, and also, like, there's been some games where the people who bought season pass have been really burned on them, like they guarantee that they're working on future content, and when sometimes they don't even come out, or it's just like it's not worth what you paid for in the season pass overall, and just that's the problem with the Bioshock DLC, because they haven't even started working on the DLC, so you're paying for something that may or may not even come out, because anything could happen. They could fall by the wayside, or just cancel the DLC all on its own. Things like that is a little bit unnerving. So I never really buy them ahead of time unless I know for sure that there's going to be some stuff coming out in the future. I will say, because I did buy the season pass for WWE 2K14, because last year's they put out some good stuff. They put out some things that I'm interested in, and they come out with consistent stuff. They have a set schedule. When they come out, they don't tell you they're going to put out DLC. They don't tell you what it is. They do have a laid out schedule on when these come out, so you can pay for the season pass ahead of time and get the rest of it for free as they come out. So I think I like that model of things, rather than just kind of promising DLC and then just kind of leaving you wondering what you're going to get,
Yeah. It's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
As Forrest Gump once said, wise words.
Yeah. And then you just taste a little bit of Burial at Sea. It's like, oh, coconut. Okay. I guess it's fine.
Well, that's unfortunate. I mean, sometimes you're better off with actually just kind of watching them on YouTube sometimes,
Yeah, well, especially if it's a very strange. Like, I'll give it just like a little mini review of Burial at Sea here.
Yeah.
It's for those of you who do not know, it's a Bioshock Infinite story, single player DLC, which I don't really know how to describe it. It doesn't really take place after the game. It's sort of like a side story, but not taking place in Bioshock Infinite's world. So a lot of it is dependent upon you already beating Bioshock Infinite, already beating and kind of understanding Bioshock 1 at the very least, and a lot of it is built on expectations of, like, oh, this character said this, which was in this game, like maybe that's be like this big. It's expectation and subverting it, and it takes place back in Rapture, which is Bioshock 1's dystopian past future alternate world where Andrew Ryan puts everyone in the bottom of the sea just because he's like, okay, I'm going to take the best and the brightest. There won't be any God. We won't have any religion. We're not going to have socialism. We're not going to have anything besides like essentially just capitalism. And I won't put any morality laws anywhere. And so in Bioshock 1, it's like the fall of Rapture has already happened, and you're just kind of in the remnants trying to scrape through, see together what happened. This is before the fall. And you're Booker DeWitt. A woman comes into your office named Elizabeth, who's looking for a little girl who you happen to know. And from there, you run into a big cavalcade of characters and very strange things, including a reappearance of Sander Cohen, which I think could have been handled a bit better. I think they brought him in there just to be like, oh, look, it's Sander Cohen, the guy everyone remembers from the first Bioshock game. It's like, yeah, I get it. He's a really big popular character because he's so eccentric and strange, but whatever. Anyway, the gameplay is essentially it's Bioshock Infinite, and because they had to do this from scratch in terms of rebuilding the Rapture world with the Bioshock Infinite engine, it looks really good. A lot of the face models look great, but this time around you have a lot less ammunition because I mean a lot less. You'll have like 4 shots of a hand cannon. Whereas opposed to like in the Bioshock Infinite, you had like 6 rounds in the chamber and then 26 bullets at your side. You'd only have 4, and you got to save them. And it really gives a sense of desperation, which is good because you're facing off against a lot of crazy splicers, and it's really like at a $15 price tag in that short of time. You better have a damn good experience. It doesn't really match up to that. There's still audio logs for you to find, and there's interesting stuff here and there, but it doesn't really evolve the story of either Rapture or Columbia or any other of the stories. And it's just kind of like as soon as that's what's getting into the really interesting, juicy stuff. And then, so they're having a second episode coming out, and so I don't know when that is, but I would say wait until it gets much cheaper.
I see. Well, it's quite unfortunate it didn't turn out as well as expected. I mean, the Infinite was pretty widely praised in terms of its kind of overall execution, and just left a lot of room for discussion, which is kind of a shame that this one in particular. He's not leaving you with the same reverence or any type of things to tell your kids about.
And I'm not going to tell the grandchillins this one day of just like sitting them down like, did I ever tell you about the time I played Burial at Sea? Well, let me bring up my YouTube videos and let you see what I did. It's and which is really disappointing because Bioshock Infinite is my game of the year, and I'm not afraid to say that right now. And the reasons why I'll get into much later, but essentially I thought it was beautiful. It was incredibly well done, and Burial at Sea is not even close to the level of polish or just thought I think that was put into Bioshock Infinite.
Nothing wrong with that, saying it's a game of the year. I think it's been one of those things. I think Ken Levine's probably said this or probably feels this way. Like they like some of the there's definitely some good points in Bioshock where like the story really gets good, and then it just kind of it kind of gets bogged down a little bit by the excess in combat. Like the shooting, it gets too much. There's so many enemies you have to shoot down, and just in order just to get to the plot. I've had a couple of points where I was like, I really don't want to feel like shooting anybody. I just want to go ahead and experience the story. I think if they weren't so worried about it not selling as well because it wasn't a first-person shooter, if they go the route of Telltale and just keep it simple, and just make it a story game rather than just having to implement combat that's first-person shooter for the sake of doing so, for them thinking it's going to sell well, which is not always necessarily the case, because those games the Telltale makes, they sell very well, and they're very
Yeah.
minimalistic in terms of gameplay.
Yeah, and Telltale has action in it, but it's sprinkled out, and it's to the point where it fits within the story. It doesn't feel excessive, which I will admit towards the end of BioShock, it did feel kind of like, okay, why do I need to kill all these people? It kind of didn't really feel as coherent as the beginning of the game. I still love the ending. Well, one of the endings anyway. Ken Levine said that the whole morality choice thing was kind of slapped together at the last second, and it certainly shows because it doesn't really. There's only one ending that kind of feels like, oh yeah, this is a very proper ending, and then the other one which is like, okay, did you just watch an episode of G.I. Joe where Cobra Commander is like trying to take over the world, and that's where you got the inspiration for this ending?
Yeah, I got a little bit much, and that Zeppelin part was a pain in my butt.
Oh, which Zeppelin
the
part?
Zeppelins, when you're shooting down the Zeppelins at the end, like near the what was the end?
Oh, BioShock Infinite. Yeah. I was talking about the first BioShock, but I have to admit, BioShock Infinite, that ending, it was cathartic for me, just to take down all the rebel Zeppelins, but it definitely felt like, okay, we're stopping this just for a moment to have this really big battle.
Yeah, I get why it was there, but it didn't necessarily. It didn't necessarily need to be there for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
Like it could, like we mentioned, they could benefit a lot more well in terms of having a game like that has a little bit of a minimalistic gameplay like Telltale's. They could benefit a lot if they make a game like that rather than just having to go full out first person shooter. I think they could benefit a lot more on that.
Can you imagine if Irrational did a BioWare style RPG? That would just make my day. That would get me to buy the next generation of systems.
I'd be down with that. And isn't Ken Levine working on writing the remake of Logan's Run, which may not come out?
Yeah, I don't know, because I know about the whole Logan's Run thing, and why? I mean, I understand Hollywood's out of ideas, and they're looking at video games that the industry's made more money than them, and is kind of is more creatively viable right now than what's going on in Hollywood.
Yeah.
But in either the big budget or indie sphere, so it's getting sort of pointless now. Yeah. I mean, I'll believe it when I see it, because I still have, I still chuckle to myself whenever I put in Splinter Cell Chaos Theory and see, the teaser trailer for the movie. It's like, you played the games, now see the movie. In 2006. It's not coming out in 2006.
It's always fun to go back on that and just play that trailer. They went as far as to get some guy in IT to wear the suits and the goggles there. It's like, stay in the shadows, flip the...
I'm pretty sure they just spray painted some light bulbs green and then just super glue them to his forehead just to turn it on. It's they wanted to see the lights. They didn't want to see the rest of the suit, which was very good play on their part.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool at the time. I mean, I remember freaking out when I saw that, and I loaded up Chaos Theory for the first time. I was like, what is this?
Oh my god, it's a movie!
A teaser trailer, and it looks like we're getting one, but we haven't heard much about it. Mm-hmm. Ubisoft starting off their getting into Hollywood right now.
Yeah, I mean, they got Michael Fassbender on Assassin's Creed. Don't know how that's going to turn out. They got Tom Hardy on Splinter Cell being Sam Fisher. I think that's awful casting.
As long as there's no Animus in the Assassin's Creed movie, and trying to think of a bad thing that they could put in. I'm trying to think of a bad thing they could put in a Splinter Cell movie. I'm trying to.
As long as they don't have any.
No Charlie.
Oh God, Charlie Cole. Yeah, if they don't if they put in Charlie Cole and make him try to be really hip, and just say yo dog, what up, and chest pound and give the peace signs, listen, the real Sam Fisher would have snapped this guy's neck seconds ago. You better do that right now, or else I won't believe that this is him. And I don't know. Like the best video game movie is still Mortal Kombat, and it's like how is that possible? And when Christoph Gans was doing the first Silent Hill movie, I thought that was perfect. He did Brotherhood of the Wolf, which was this really weird movie, which was like supernatural, like period piece, erotic action drama, just this pardon me, combination of things, and he nails horror very well. And then with Silent Hill, it's like, okay, it's none of that. It's like, okay, here's Pyramid Head, and he's doing things, and it's like that's not really what Silent Hill's about. It's supposed to be It's not supposed to be scary. It's supposed to be intensely unnerving and uncomfortable. Like a lot of the Silent Hill stuff is about sexuality. And that's certainly what Silent Hill 2 is about. And I thought that, like, oh my god, Silent Hill 2, that would be a great thing for a movie. And then there's like, okay, it's a big budget adaptation of a video game. We need to make it more action packed. And apparently have Sean Bean in it for some reason. I still don't know what he was doing in that film. But I don't know. Like video game films, or people assuming that video game talent will immediately transfer into Hollywood success. It makes me question it. Like, I think Ken Levine is a very smart guy. I think he's an exceptional storyteller with the other writers at Irrational. But I just don't know if he can work in that medium, because I don't know if he has the kind of mental faculties for movies as opposed to video games.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors in it as well in the movie industry. Like they'll definitely do things that probably won't translate well. That may not be something that Ken Levine is up for, but it's like he's probably going to have no other choice but to go ahead and go along with it. Some minor things, and yeah, you know how it is. Like it's that in video game movies at this point. I couldn't care less anymore about video game movies. Like there's a reason why they're pulled two different mediums. They excel at what they do, and there's no really need to merge the two in order to get something out of it. A lot of it just seems like more just cash-ins and on the properties there. Hence Resident Evil. But
oh boy, that movie series is like, wow, this is Resident Evil in name only. And I never thought I'd be defending the story of Resident Evil, because goddammit, there is no story.
And it seems like just the Resident Evil movies have been rubbing off a bit on the actual games.
Oh yeah, especially with Resident Evil 6, where it's like action, horror, large explosions. And then I go back to playing Resident Evil 4, which is just about this, this secret agent with a flock of seagulls haircut. I think the game was supposed to be a very. It's not actually just. It's not really a horror game. It's a horror comedy game, because if you think about it, it's so incredibly bizarre. Like the main character is sent to a Spanish village, and he doesn't. It's like you think in the training manual somewhere. It's like, okay, we got to send this guy here to save the president's daughter. Who knows Spanish? And then Leon Kennedy's like, well, I got to get this job because I haven't got a paycheck in a while. It's like, can you speak Spanish? C. Good. You're hired.
It is crazy, and I will say, I have been playing Resident Evil 4, so I get what you're saying there. It does see, yeah. It doesn't seem like a horror game at all to me. Like it is a horror concept, It has its horror game tropes and things like that, but it does seem like it's quite bizarre. It does seem like it would be something Swery 65 will work on. It does seem like that.
Yeah, absolutely, and there are absolutely terrifying things in there, such as the big guys, like with the axe wielding guys, where it's like one hit and you're dead. That's terrifying.
Yeah,
because it's unfair. And you can't slow them down, so and your controls are limiting you to how you can move. and then the regenerators, which are one of my most terrifying nightmares that I've ever seen in any sort of concept, where they're just coming at you, and no matter how many times you blow them to bits, they'll come back, and you need to be able to get a weapon to defeat them only much, much later in the game.
I don't think I've gotten that far.
Is this the first time you've played Resident Evil 4?
That is correct, sir. I've been first time playing Resident Evil 4. I do the streams. I just every Friday. I started playing Resident Evil 4. I am really enjoying Resident Evil 4. That's it's definitely becoming my favorite Resident Evil game. I can't believe I haven't played it sooner, because I did have a GameCube, and that was a GameCube exclusive for a while. And I'm enjoying it. I am enjoying it a lot. I hate the escort stuff. It almost ruined the game for me. But once you get the handle of it, it's not so bad. I'm enjoying it so far. What's going on?
I was asking, it took me about 2 playthroughs to realize I could hide Ashley in the crates and in the dumpsters if I stood near them and just pressed stop, and she just go in them and then hide.
No, I haven't encountered that. There's been instances where I would have her wait somewhere very far, secluded from where any activity is going on. So I have her wait near the door I open after I save, and then I don't know how far you can get without it saying anything. But I fought a couple of the crazies, and then I took down one of the enemies they introduced in the first. Was the ones that are tied up and blind, so they only respond to movements, which I figured out. So you shoot. So you start whacking on the bells, and they go ahead and start running towards that. That was when I had her wait there when I got at the castle.
Very, very nice. Okay, you're at a really, really good part.
Yeah, I'm at right now. I mean, that's what I recall there in terms of having her wait and not getting anything too crazy around her. So right now, where I left off on my stream just not too long ago, I was in the sewers, and I was fighting the monster that you have to go ahead and then hit with some nitrous or some type of chemical to freeze them.
Ooh, yeah. Now I know what you're talking about. The servants. The Tweedledee and Tweedledum. Yeah,
yes.
That's a good one. You're at an excellent place, good sir. Trust me, it gets better. It gets a lot better from there.
It's terrifying. I just beat that monster. I went down further. I took the elevator, and then took down a bunch of those giant insects, and lit the light to open a door. That's where I left off right there. I don't know how far I am. That game seems long. I was looking at the leaderboards. I don't know how anyone beat that game an hour and a half. That game is long.
There are speed freaks out there, man, who are still mastering it to this day. There are still, how there's still people who are doing speed runs of the first Half-Life game. Resident Evil 4 is right up there as well, in terms of trying to beat it as quickly as they can. People will beat it with regular weapons that in a certain amount of time, in a tenth of a time that it would take me to use the special automatic wind buttons that you get, wind weapons that you get in the New Game Plus. And I gotta tell you that it's insane just how much it's like South Koreans playing StarCraft 2 level of intense, where it's wow, they have memorized their stuff.
Yeah, it's amazing. I gotta watch some videos of anyone playing that in an hour and a half and see how that goes. So right now I'm at that point right now. I don't know how long I am. That game feels like it's quite a lengthy one, but I'm enjoying it nonetheless. It's good.
It's a good experience, and I just like the fact that the merchant in the game,
yes,
probably I'm sorry,
the best merchant ever.
Yeah, welcome. He's obviously one of them, but for some reason he just doesn't care, and just wants to sell you weapons.
He's in it for the money, I guess.
He's a true capitalist. He would do well in Rapture.
I killed him by accident, and he reappeared. So that was interesting.
It's all state accident forgiveness.
How crazy would that be if you killed him?
Shoot me in the face. That's accident forgiveness.
How crazy would it be if you killed him and then you never see him again, so you can never buy any weapons? That'd be crazy.
Ooh. That would be crazy. But where you just had to go throughout the entire game without any upgrades and without any new weapons, without selling anything. You'd have to either drop it or trade it off with something else. And just that would be a very interesting hardcore game. If you just immediately kill them off, then then that's it. You're done.
Yeah, it would be an interesting difficulty level. So yeah, right now I'm going through playing Resident Evil 4. I'm enjoying it. It's a good experience, like you mentioned, for our first time newbie of Resident Evil 4. I look forward to probably replaying that once I'm all set and done with that. Play a little bit of State of Decay. As I mentioned to you, I considered buying it, so I played it. I played about 2 hours of it. Good nice game. I like the concept. It's a little rough around the edges, like the driving. When you drive, it just the frames go dropping like crazy. So
yeah, it's a bit like Deadly Premonition with the driving, where it's it gets you where you need to go. I'm sorry?
No, Deadly Premonition's driving is better.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just have rose-colored glasses on with State of Decay. Yeah, it is better in Deadly Premonition. With State of Decay, it's really weird in terms of how it gets how your cars get damaged. There's a limited number of the cars you can actually have in the game world.
The cars blow up?
Cars blow up, yes.
Okay, because I haven't gotten that far. Because I got to the point where they're on fire. So I played it safe and just got out of the car and just ran as fast as I could and find another one and started just mowing down zombie hordes. That's the easy way to go about it.
Mm-hmm. If you look at the your little mini map, and if you have a car on fire, then it will eventually explode and create a huge shockwave, which will attract all of the zombies over there. And and in terms of it being an open world zombie game, I still think it's got a definite edge up on Undead Nightmare, just because of the fact that it's kind of focused purely on that aspect. And as you did say, it is rough around the edges in terms of the driving as well as the some of the combat stuff, but it's still really, really fun, and I just like the freedom that you can have from all of it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot to do. Always problems arising. It's why is everybody leaving the campsite to do something, and I gotta go rescue them?
Listen, have you not heard of the buddy system? Bring somebody with you. Who's your buddy? Hands up. I want to see people with their buddies. Yeah,
it's crazy. If even if you're not as well supplied, it can get. I'm surprised I managed to pass the one mission where you meet off one of the you go outside of your campsite. You can go a little bit far off on the east side of the map where there's where you go ahead and pick up the doctor, and then there's you have to go ahead and defend their place there. So you start putting up some 2x4s on windows before they go ahead and zombies start coming in. Then you get these juggernauts enemy types that are kind of annoying. If you don't have any ammo, you're kind of screwed. So I was just ran off away from that area. I'm surprised they didn't die. I went ahead and grabbed the car and started running everybody over in order to get this done real quick. And I got the first character killed. I got Marcus killed. R.I.P.
Oh,
poor
come
Marcus.
on, not the black guy. Come on.
I did too much with him. He was a good man. We lost him. I had to go ahead and play as the other female character that you meet up. I had to go ahead and pick up his remains. Woman? Yeah. I had to go ahead and pick up his remains and head back to the campsite. But it's good. I like the concept of it. Like we mentioned, it's rough around the edges, but if you can get past that, I think it's quite enjoyable. There's a lot to do. It's something that if Undead Nightmare did that, it would have been a lot better. But it's definitely different than Undead Nightmare. It's more of it has a RPG element to it. Like you're always kind of
bases and resource management.
Yeah, resource management. You're doing missions with characters to kind of get on their good side so that they can join you on missions and switching between characters. I guess if you're friends with them. So right now, I have 2 playable characters at the moment, and there's no way you can like fast forward time real quick, can you?
Just wait for things to go like wait a day or something like that.
Well, like you do in Grand Theft Auto, when you fall asleep, it goes about like 6 hours.
Yeah, no, sorry.
Yeah, I mean that's cool, but it's unfortunate because right after Marcus died, so I was only left with 1 character, and then once she was done and fatigued, I didn't want to take the risk and do any other missions. So I just kind of hung out around the area and just started looking through houses close to the campsite, and started kind of getting supplies through there, and eventually I found some other refugees and took them in, so I'm able to use another character. So it's a work in progress so far. In State of Decay.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those games where its ambition and its ability to drag you into that world and just make you like really just enjoy everything that you have to offer is very unique, especially with the fact that a lot of these characters, you don't get a whole lot of dialogue with them, and you don't get a whole lot of they don't have one-on-one time with other characters kind of reveal themselves, but they have their own personal biographies and kind of interesting their own kind of personal level stats of different things.
Yeah.
And one will be like Conway, like he has 5 stars for cooking, 6 stars for fighting, and 1 star for TPS reports. It's like those little touches, which are I really think really add character to not in a very effective and efficient manner.
Yeah, it's definitely unique in that aspect. Getting an idea what these characters about through its budget and not having a lot of actual in-game dialogue. You just look through that and get a little bit of info about them. Like you mentioned, like their stats. Like the one girl I picked up has got like she's maxed out on her stats and gossip, so that tells you what she's about. So those little things like that are really good in terms of conveying what some of these characters you bring in are about, which is very good. You don't get a lot of that and that much effort in some of these games.
Yeah, and what I like is that they go against tropes for the horror genre. Usually, a lot of times they do the reversal of kind of the standard norm for characters. But this even goes against like the reversal of the reversal, where you have sort of like the black man who's not only kind of the main character when you start out, but he's kind of the one who's in charge and gets everyone together. There's a military guy who isn't really he's not Christopher Eccleston in 28 Days Later, where he actually kind of has a sense of morality with everything that's going on, and which you'll encounter later. I won't say too much, but and there's a big cast of characters who are really fleshed out for the ones who are, and like the military woman who just has a teacher that says you can suck my dick, where it's just like, okay, you know what, you are very, very, this is a very interesting crop of characters right here.
The game has its like main story. It does have a beginning and end, or it just kind of continues on and you play it as long as you want. It's one of those never-ending games.
It's not as much as that. It's this weird limbo state where you can play it indefinitely, but there is an end goal. It's sort of like Fallout 3.
Right.
Where if you complete it, then it's kind of over, and they are working on a sort of Broken Steel-esque continuing stuff, but it hasn't come out yet. And so, essentially, what you can do is just have fun, go around, pick up supplies, fight against hordes, establish new bases and develop new weapons and get survivors, and that's really fun. I love finding new survivors and them coming onto the shelter and helping out with things. And for right now, they don't have anything that's kind of just like, okay, now that it's not like the Red Dead Redemption, like now the story's over, so you can go around and play around with whatever you want. It is like Fallout 3 without broken steel.
I see. Well, so far I'm digging it. I got a lot more supplies than I do people, so I gotta start recruiting some more people to get some things done. I gotta get some. I gotta establish a new home base.
Mm-hmm.
Get it going.
The church is nice, but where's our God now?
Yeah, I know the church is. The army's not helping me. Those bastards.
I think God was like, I'm not dealing with this, and then just like decided to get the heck out of Dodge while the getting was good.
Yeah, it's really intense too. Like especially when you're doing missions on your own, it gets really intense when you start when you look at the map and you see where you need to do, where you need to go, and where you need to look for more supplies. And you look at that map, and then you look at where you are right now. It's like, oof, this is gonna be rough. I gotta start doing a lot of sneaking. I gotta avoid as much zombies as possible. You never know what you're gonna get in some of these, some of the houses you go into, and should you go searching real quick without, and make noise, or just search, take your time. And there's always zombies coming out of nowhere. One scared the crap out of me. It came out of nowhere when I was like looking through the house, and I thought I had the doors closed, and they always manage to get in there. Scared the crap out of me.
They could also open the doors.
Well, that's a new thing, a new feature in zombie technology. It scared me.
They learned from the raptors in Jurassic Park.
It scared me.
It's oh my gosh! It is just they really brought a lot of ingenuity and creativity to that game, and I gotta applaud them for that.
Yeah, I respect that a lot, and it's definitely worth the price you pay for it. It definitely feels like a full price game.
Mm-hmm.
That's the amazingness of especially the 360 and PS3 generation was just the arcade titles were the great stuff that just rival any type of AAA game that gets out there.
Castle Crashers, Limbo, Shadow Complex, just like a bunch of really great titles. And I gotta say, do you know who worked on the main theme for State of Decay?
Oh, that's a good question. Who was that?
It is the one and only Jesper Kyd.
Oh shit, Jesper Kyd from Hitman, Assassin's Creed,
Kane and Lynch fame.
Lynch fame. He's a great composer, man.
He is just out there churning out some great music, and I love the main theme because it's not really, I don't know, it's not like catchy, it's not, but it's very atmospheric and it's very perfect to that environment. It really is just kind of like this perfect combination of sort of this Midwestern sort of fields and plantations and farms, and then you just kind of gotta realize, like, okay, now I gotta save myself from all this trouble, might as well listen to some Jesper Kyd.
That sounds like Jesper Kyd. His stuff his scores are very atmospheric. If you ever listen to the Hitman Blood Money soundtrack, it sums up how much of a talent that guy is. He's really been synonymous with the Hitman series, with the music and just other games, Assassin's Creed 2, and he did a really good job on. That's my favorite song from that was the Ezio's Family. I think that's a song that plays after Ezio's family gets hanged there, but that was a good score there.
Yeah, it's definitely. He's definitely just one of those talents who you automatically you can tell it's work done by high caliber sort of composer, and Jesper Kyd is definitely up there. I think like Tommy Tallarico is definitely in leagues with him, and also Marty O'Donnell. He's just absolutely fantastic, and I definitely think that Jesper Kyd is probably. I wouldn't say the Hans Zimmer of our generation, just because I haven't got tired of Jesper Kyd yet, but he's definitely up there. Maybe John Williams of the video game scores.
I would say so as well. So we got State of Decay is another one of the Another one of the games I've been playing recently. I've also played the Game of Thrones game. I finished that about a week or two ago.
How was that?
That was a good game. I mean,
Really?
it plays like Dragon Age, which I never played Dragon Age, so it's the kind of very strategy based kind of game where you just everything slows down and you're picking the different up to 3 slots of different things these your characters can do. You can do an attack, or they can go ahead and refill, like a drink up a potion to get their health back up, and just other things, just different type of variations of attacks. So it's a lot like that, and it's based off the Game of Thrones series. I think it takes place before the well, I don't know if it's going along the lines. It's basically either or. It could be either or the along the lines of the show or the book. So it takes place before the first season of the show. So you're playing as 2 characters, and you follow along their story paths. You play as each of them, and you get a little sense of what they're about on each of the chapters. You play as them, and their stories intertwine near the near the middle of the game, and the standout of that game is the story. The story is really goddamn good. So I mean, it's one of those games where the gameplay is not the greatest. It's serviceable, but I much would have preferred like I've heard rumors as well. Like I mentioned with BioShock, that they could do well in the same formula of gameplay like Telltale's games, which I hear rumor. I think it may be true, or it could.
Yeah.
That the Telltale's working on a Game of Thrones game.
I you know what? With their track record, I would be more than happy to see them do that. They knocked it out of the park with The Walking Dead. The beginning of The Wolf Among Us is incredible. I whatever they want to do next, I say you go for it. I personally want them to do a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy adaptation, but that'll be saved for another time and date. But Game of Thrones, yeah, that sounds like really within their wheelhouse right now, because they've been doing sort of dark, morally questionable stories, as well as just sort of ones with big casts and incredible moments where you have these decision-making processes where it's a very interesting kind of culmination of what the franchise is before what they had, and their own interpretation of things.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that, because there's a lot of stories to tell in that Game of Thrones universe, in which I think Telltale is going to do it nothing but justice with that franchise. They're going to do a lot of good things. I'm looking forward to what kind of stories they can tell. I mean, it's very heavily focused on. They're very heavily focused on story, which is what's really good about Game of Thrones, obviously, like the show and in the books. So it's very exciting to hear that they're working on that. And yeah, if you ever get the chance, definitely worth the check. Definitely worth checking out the Game of Thrones game. I know it's gotten mixed to decent reviews, but it's if you can get through the gameplay, you'll definitely enjoy the story a lot. The story has a lot to offer. Some really rich characters. Obviously, it's got a good lore to work on. They give you a lot of things to read up on. Like you can read up a lot of things in the game, and do a lot of RPG things in the game, like side quests and main story quests, which may or may not have effect on the story. Some of it does, like any other RPG does. So it was really good story to experience. Definitely, it has other endings too, so which is pretty nice. I haven't gone as far as replaying it to see, but I read a little bit upon it on Wikipedia, so it saved me some time. But the story's great, so if you can get through the gameplay, it'll be well worth the while to play through that just for the story.
Well, when it came out, I thought it was just another bad adaptation of kind of a popular thing right now. Is the thing is, like, if they were basing it on the books, like, we're making their own thing, like sort of Telltale's The Walking Dead, rather than The Walking Dead Survival Instinct. Like, I kind of felt it was going to be like Survival Instinct, but now that you said that to me, I'll go check it out.
Yeah, I mean, I think what mostly, I guess, the negative reviews were about, I think it was just mainly the gameplay. The gameplay is nothing to write home about. It is playable, but it's nothing too crazy or nothing too great. But some of the reviews I have read, they've been all praising the story. The story is good. It's just like the gameplay and some of the presentation is not the best. But if you can get past that, it's definitely worth playing just for the story. The story is very strong in that. So that it does do the books and the show justice. So if you can get into that, it's you won't be disappointed.
Well, that makes me interested. Hopefully it'll be more like Chronicles of Riddick Escape from Butcher Bay than Enter the Matrix, in terms of like how well it does like side stories with that universe.
Yeah, I think I would consider it definitely better than Enter the Matrix for sure. But I get what you're kind of comparing it to. It does it's definitely one of those things where it leaves a lot open. It takes a lot from the lore and just kind of expands upon it with some of these new characters, and it does intertwine a little bit with some of what's going on with some of the characters from the books and the show, which is kind of cool. And it has a cameo by the author in there, which I didn't see, but I have seen a video of it. So that kind of got to me. That was pretty funny to have the author of the book in the game as well.
Was he just like looking at the corner, like when everyone's getting slaughtered, he's like, yes, fall in love with my characters, then watch them die?
It could be like that, yeah. I think he played like a some type of alchemist, like a maester. He was like a maester at one of the locations you could go to. But yeah, it's hard for me to really get into it without saying too much. But take it for what it's worth. The story is the stronger point of the game, and I was very pleased to know that it wasn't just a bad adaptation or just a cash-in, which I don't necessarily think it is. It doesn't have the biggest budget, but it does what it takes what it has and excels on it in just the storytelling aspect. Everything else is kind of decent to mediocre, but if you can get through it, it's worth the playthrough.
I got you.
And the voice acting's good. The voice acting is good too.
Okay. Because it's like sometimes they'll just we'll just phone it in just for just like, oh, okay, we're these characters, whatever. But it sounds like they actually took time for the story and the production budget and to actually make it a good, interesting thread, yarn to spin, if you will. Yeah, and
it also has some appearances. Actually has like I think two or three of the cast members from the show that actually voiced their characters in it, which is pretty cool. Well, I think it was one being Varys, and then the other one was the Commander Mormont was the head of the Night's Watch. He was lended his voice for that.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, it's very pleasantly surprised by the Game of Thrones game.
Mm-hmm. And I'll be adding it to the queue as well. And speaking of things that I added to the queue and then finally recently got a chance of playing in terms of also as well as really well regarded games in all the genres, and we were talking about Resident Evil 4, which was directed by Shinji Mikami, who was the director of a lot of interesting games like God Hand, as well as Piano 3. That wasn't really a good game, but whatever. It's it's still interesting on his resume. He also did another game called Vanquish, which was a very interesting shooter. Have you played this one before, or am I mixed up?
Yeah, I have played Vanquish. It was a while ago. I think that's when, around the time it came out, I actually rented it and played through it. It's a lot of fun. I mean, it's played by Platinum, so you're always going to expect some crazy, ludicrous story that doesn't necessarily make sense, but you get a lot out of it in terms of the gameplay, just the overall balls to the wall action. It's a lot of fun.
It is. So I'm gonna make another mini review right here.
All right.
I'll lay it down. I'll lay down the fat beats. So essentially, it's just that in the future, someone from an evil guy from Russia launches a destructive weapon at Los Angeles from a space station, and then the Americans have to go into the space station and kill him. And you are a super soldier with a Iron Man cybernetic suit, and you shoot things.
Yes.
That is the entire story right there. There is like Comic Zone is a better story than what this is, and and the thing is, like, I don't care if it's a really terrible story, and they try to throw in some plot twists at the end. It was like, really, are you kidding me? Come on, like, this is stuff they stopped doing in action movies from 1981. But they still do it. Like, maybe it's like a throwback, who knows? But my problem isn't really with the story or the presentation. I thought it was really cool to be kind of like sliding around with your rocket feet and just going from place to place.
Yeah.
My problem is kind of with the gameplay, where it's fun for the taking cover and kind of zipping around and choosing different weapons, but it doesn't really evolve from there. You have the kind of beginning basic enemies and the slightly harder ones, and there's about 5 different enemy types, and then like 2 mini bosses for you to do and enjoy, and then there's like only one other boss. And then by the midway through the game, you've already fought everything they've thrown at you. And so what they do is that they have to try to mix it up, and it just, and the way that they did it was it felt really stale. It wasn't like Bayonetta, or it wasn't like Mad World, where at least it felt a lot more. It felt a lot more. The pacing was a lot better, or even like Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, where they saved something. Where this one just feels like they got halfway there and were like, okay, we don't really know what to do else. We'll try to do a different variety of like the encounters. And I gotta say, that melee weapon, the melee punch, wow, that was. I've never seen something. I never thought they could do such a poor implementation of a melee system in a next gen game, but they sure proved me wrong. It was because you got like your adrenaline. No, you got your electricity meter, where you can zip around on your rock, run out of it. You gotta wait for it to recharge. And so what you do is that instead you could press the B button to the circle button, and then what you can do is like punch the enemy into submission, and then you'd use all your energy. But the problem is that it's not really precise, and it's just very underwhelming. And if for that to completely eradicate all of your energy, it should really have the payoff trade-off, where it's like, okay, maybe you could take out 5 enemies at once, but you're completely out of energy for double the time, or something. At least a little bit more useful. And I never used the melee system. I remember maybe using it 3 times throughout the entire thing. And it just, I was really disappointed. Because I love Bayonetta, I love Mad World, I love Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, and Vanquish kind of left me feeling cold. It's like, okay, I like where this is going. This is like a great skeleton for a terrific game, but I just wish they had a little bit more variety and were able to kind of save a lot of their stuff for the end.
Yeah, I would agree. So, I mean, it's been a while since I played it, but I do recall it being there was definitely points where they kind of done everything they could, and then at a certain point it did get a bit repetitive. They tried to mix it up a little bit with the very last boss fight at the end. It's not a very long game either. It feels like I think it was about 6 probably 6 to 8 hours max. But yeah, like you mentioned, some of the repetitiveness, it does make it feel like it's a bit of a longer game. But I just had a lot of fun with the gameplay. I don't remember the melee on it. That's probably why, because I never used it. Because probably I don't remember it. But yeah, it was just crazy, crazy storytelling, and just the gameplay that at a certain point when it was fun and exhilarating. I enjoyed the hell out of it. Out of that, I don't know if memory serves me right, but were you able to upgrade anything in terms of like what your armor can do, or any of your weapons? I think you can upgrade your weapons, but not so much. I'm trying to remember.
What you could do is essentially, you could be on the battlefield and kill some baddies, and then if you killed enough, or if you killed the right variety of them, or if you killed enough with a certain weapon, you get like an upgrade token. And it just kind of sitting out there on the battlefield, and whatever weapon you switch to, and then picked it up for, you upgrade that weapon. Like, okay, you got the carrying capacity more, or if you got a rocket launcher, it'd be like it can lock on to enemies more quickly.
Oh, okay.
And then, yeah, it's one of those deals. And they only have like 2 types of grenades, which is good because it's focused. Where it's the EMP grenade, where it stuns all the electric baddies, and then the actual grenade, where that actually causes damage.
Yeah, that game also reminds me a little bit of Warhammer 40k Space Marine. Like it had a good gameplay going for it, but at a certain point they kind of ran out of other things to do. That they kind of thrown everything at you, and then at a certain point it does get a bit repetitive. But I remember having a lot of fun with it from beginning to end. It was a lot of fun. Yellow. Hello.
Hi, how you doing there? I'm sorry, for some reason we seem to have cut out.
Oh boy. Okay. Gotta edit that
Hello.
out. Hello.
Oh, hi, how you doing? Doing good?
Am I cutting out again, or what?
You were before. You're doing good now. Okay. Don't know what the problem is.
Yeah, so where I was getting off at was, it reminded me a lot of Warhammer 40k. Yeah, where they had a good idea going for it in terms of the gameplay. I mean, it did get repetitive, but for the most part, I enjoyed my time with it from beginning to end. So, yeah, to each his own. I mean, it's a good early Platinum Games. So they definitely have done a lot more and have increased the insane factor of their games in terms of gameplay and storytelling, all the way up to Bayonetta. I don't know what they're doing with Bayonetta 2. I probably won't never know because I'm not going to buy a Wii U for it.
Yeah, it's they're doing the Wonderful 101, or they did the Wonderful 101, and then they're doing Bayonetta 2. So looks like the Wii U is getting the most amount of love from the Platinum, and I think Platinum's a very interesting game company. I think the guys who did Beautiful Joe and God Hand, they certainly deserve a lot of credit where credit is due. So, I certainly hope I see they have continued success in the future. But for me, I wouldn't want to see I would like to see a sequel to Bayonetta, to Metal Gear Rising, to even Mad World. That isn't Anarchy Reigns, but I don't think I would ever. I don't think I'm that hungry for another Vanquish sequel.
Yeah, I guess unless they kind of improve upon the gameplay that they have so far and kind of add new elements to it, I definitely would like to see another Vanquish game. It's probably really cheap online, so I probably will rebuy that again just for you talking about it. I do remember having a good time with it. I gotta replay that again. I want to add that to my Platinum Games collection. It's a good one to dive into if you haven't played it. I mean, especially at the first time when you start off with those rocket boots, that when you're running up the stairs, and then all of a sudden there's this huge battle going on. Once you're like the first few minutes you start off the game after you do the training tutorial, that was cool. That was just a cool opening right there.
I like the fact that when you're in cover, and when you press the instead of the skate around button that you use for your rockets, what you do is just light up a cigarette, smoke it a little bit, and then like toss it away as like the robots shoot at it as their heat signature catching on. So I would love to see. You know who I would actually like to, what project I'd like to see Platinum Games do?
Charles Barkley should have been Jam.
Yes, actually, that's much better than what the hell I was thinking.
What would you think?
I was gonna say Pacific Rim, but you definitely had a much better idea.
No, Pacific Rim sounds like it's something up their alley. Like they had that kind of futuristic tone going for Vanquish. They could definitely do something a bit more up that alley, or maybe something in the vein. It kind of reminded me, just like the design of it and the look of it, because it was set in the distant future. It reminded me a little bit of Binary Domain in a sense.
Ooh, Binary Domain. Excellent game. I would actually say that between Vanquish and Binary Domain, I had a good time with both, but I definitely thought I enjoyed myself a lot more with Binary Domain, especially towards the end.
Oh yeah, that left a huge impression on me. Like on the surface, like especially the game cover, not one of the best game covers, but if you actually go ahead and play Binary Domain, it's a great sci-fi game with kind of some messages thrown out there about like the morality of what it means to be human and all that stuff. It's a really good kind of a sleeper hit. I would say. I don't know if you would call it a sleeper hit, but it's definitely one that
cult classic.
Cult classic, I guess you would say, and it didn't get a lot of attention, but it's definitely, for those who played it, I'm sure they had a lot of fun with that. It's a great game.
Absolutely. I do think that the guys who made Binary Domain could actually make a really good Pacific Rim game, just because of the fact that they also had a multicultural cast of characters from every which way but loose.
Yeah.
It's oh, okay, that's interesting. It was from Yakuza Team, which is who did the Yakuza video game series. Huh. Very interesting. And I do see that, like, just looking at the box art again, it does look really, really obviously like they looked like at a bunch of Western video game covers, like, oh, this is what they like. It's like, you gotta think of something a little bit more creative. Like, it's essentially the Gears of War first one cover art, except everything's blue instead of brown. And I always find it funny when, like, there was that Call of Duty game, and Gears of War does it, and so does this game cover, where, they have the main, everyone's, like, firing into, like, oncoming, like, the side characters are firing into, like, a swarm coming at them from behind them, and then the main character's, like, running towards where the audience member would be reading. It's like, where the hell is he going? Where, there was, like, one of the Call of Duty games where like, all the other soldiers, like, going up a cliff, and then, like, you see one of the soldiers, which is supposed to be, like, the cover art, sort of primary focus, is, like, firing, like, at the viewer. It's like, wait, what the hell is he shooting at?
Yeah, like, even the characters don't necessarily look like the ones in the game either. I don't know who that guy is, or girl, that the main character's dragging off of them.
Bo doesn't look really the same. It's really one of those weird cover arts where it's like an approximation of what they look like, but I don't know. It's like there should have been, like, more communication going back and forth between the two. It's like, listen, it's obvious that, like, you guys maybe had, like, 5 minutes to study the characters before actually making the thing, but just a little bit more time wouldn't have hurt.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It could have been It could have been better, but yeah, Binary Domain's definitely a good gem of a game that didn't get as much attention. Because when did this come out? It came out in February of last year. I'm trying to remember what came out during that time, but I'm sure it was certainly one of those. It might have been a busy season of games that time, or maybe one of those few games that came out that time. I don't know. It probably would have benefited a lot better if it came out somewhere around the time where there was nothing out, or maybe it wouldn't.
Yeah, that seems to be kind of the big death knell for a lot of games, which is either, what happened to kind of one of my favorite games, which was sort of competing against a lot of other sort of games at that point in time, which was Enslaved Odyssey to the West, and that was kind of a cult classic. And then same with this one, where it's sort of at the beginning of the year, where Enslaved was at kind of the end of the year, where it was competing against the big shooters and the big franchises. This one's going up against the beginning of the year with big kind of RPGs, big and just at the beginning of the year. Like if someone decided to release more in summer, I guarantee you there'd be better sales.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, this one is a gem. I like this game a lot. It's got a feeling of a kind of an 80s movie. It's got it's got some good sci-fi in it. It's got some interesting takes on what it means to be human. It's got some really good comedic moments. A lot of good comedic moments. Some that you don't even expect and doesn't seem completely obvious. Like
it's genuine.
Yeah, genuine. Big Bo is awesome.
Big Bo, Showtime. Where he's just a cavalcade of awesome. But the interesting thing is, like, he could have just been relegated just to a comedic side character, but they actually give him a good amount of gravitas in the story, especially towards the ending, where they have him actually kind of questioning what he's doing in a certain manner. I won't say what, but and it's just not like in the first game of Gears of War. You have Dom, who's just essentially like the wisecracking best friend. It wasn't until the second game that he finally got a little bit more character to him. But with this game, it's like, okay, you know what? We're actually going to include some character into all these different casts, and not just have them be like, oh, let's make a bunch of wisecracks and chest pounding, bravado stuff.
Yeah, stories and characters are interesting enough to to engage you, and the gameplay is a lot of fun as well. I think it's a really good third-person shooter. There's a lot to it than on the surface. Like, you can really go crazy with the gameplay. Like I like the mechanics of being able to shoot off the heads of robots, and then they start attacking other enemy robots to help you out. That is really awesome. And you can shoot them in the legs. You can just shoot them all over the place, and they'll take damage as you see fit. And they can also, if you're not careful, they can be crawling towards you and grab your leg. That would it's just all that stuff is really awesome.
Mm-hmm. And I just love the little bits that fly off.
Yeah,
I don't know why, it's just so enjoyable to see, like, just like the little chunks just of the metal and scrap just flying joyfully in the air.
And just the next gen and technologically advanced voice commands is really what left an impression on me. Just having just these one word things for you to say on your headset to really emulate how you're feeling during battle. Like, yeah, like, yeah, no, that's fucked up. All that good stuff.
I like the fact that they have that system of, like, people either, like, you could either say, like, yeah, good job, or I don't agree, and it actually affected the outcome of the game.
Yeah, strangely enough, it did. Like, you get like loyalty points gathered up through, like, the whole game, and it's not a huge change in story, but it slightly affects, like, the outcome. Like, if you don't get everybody to kind of like you at a certain point, like until the very end. You'll maybe get an additional scene or not get an additional scene depending on how you respond to some of the characters there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is very important to play nice, because that will affect how you get the game ending, or maybe not play nice depending on how you want the game to end.
Yeah, which is interesting in and of its own right, but it's not a huge like change in story or anything like that. Like the outcome you get at the end, but it is a nice touch, and it's just a little bit. It's like a little add-on to if you actually go ahead and go through that trouble of getting everybody to like you there by the end. By depending on what you say and how well you actually play too, because they'll like you or dislike you depending on how you play as well. Like if you're just sucking and you're just shooting air, they'll tell you after the whole battle's over.
If you start shooting like how they were shooting in their game cover art, then they'll get angry at you.
Yeah, and it's always nice to get that thumbs up from Bo every time you get headshots. That was sweet.
Damn it! Now I want to go replay it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the only other thing that I've been doing is getting with the Rayman Origins, and trying to get that done. And I gotta say, it's a really good platformer. It still doesn't beat Mario Galaxy or Donkey Kong Country Returns, but it is damn good.
Is that your first time playing it, or you played it before?
I started playing a little bit of it before, but for some reason or another, I just did not complete it. But now that I'm going back and getting through all of it, yeah, it's absolutely wonderful. I love the music. I love the presentation. I love just how quirky it is. It's very strange and surreal, and I really like that. Where you like have entire levels where you're just in a kitchen, like a giant dragon's kitchen, and you're going through all that, and just like I liked a lot of the music. In fact, I listened to a lot of the music that they had on YouTube before, but it's definitely a game that I didn't really play through complete, and it's how it should have been played before in its entirety. But now that I have, it's I'm getting through it, and it's really, really damn good.
Yeah, I played a good chunk of it. I didn't get far in completing it because I started playing other games, and also like there were some levels that I didn't collect everything. So at a certain point, you have to get, I guess, a certain amount of collectibles in order to unlock anything to get further on. So the only way to do that, you have to replay some of the levels you probably didn't collect everything in order to kind of advance forward. Kind of the traditional tropes of platforming, but it was a great platformer. I mean, we don't get a lot of that very often, but it's definitely great if you're looking to scratch the platformer itch.
Mm-hmm. What I really like is that platforming has come back a lot in the ways like towards the tail end of this generation, and a lot of it is in the 2D environment, and with a lot of the classic characters who really started it, and who went to other kind of branches, where you have Donkey Kong coming back with one of and my favorite platformer, which is Donkey Kong Country Returns. Rayman coming back with this one, where Rayman hasn't been seen for God knows how many years because of Ubisoft making money from all them rabbits, and them not giving him a proper sequel until just now, and then having Mario, of course, but going on with his bad self. But they also do a lot of experimenting with the 2D gameplay with Super Mario Galaxy and Super Mario 3D World.
He's made a comeback.
Mm-hmm.
Don't call it a comeback.
Comeback kid.
He's doing better than Sonic.
Yeah. Sonic. Poor Sonic. They should just let him die. I think the Game Grumps kind of put the final nail in the coffin playing Sonic 06.
He was great in that one commercial with the car insurance commercial, which made no sense, but it was awesome anyway.
With Flo?
With Flo.
Yeah, that was the best acting he's ever done to date.
It was amazing.
So amazing. It's just like, I don't understand, why does a supersonic hedgehog need car insurance? He doesn't. Maybe for like Sonic Riders? Maybe?
Supersonic racing. That's a great soundtrack.
Sonic, he can really move. Sonic, he's got an attitude. Sonic, he's voiced by Jaleel White.
That was a fantastic soundtrack, Sonic Racing.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Can you feel the sunshine?
I still have that game like on the PC. It's like it's a weird racing game there. I don't know how it was perceived when that came out. Probably not well, but I remember playing that a lot when I was young. I did have fun. I think I liked the soundtrack more than I actually liked the game. Which is always at least I took something nice from it. Like I enjoyed the soundtrack, which is good.
Yeah, you found some enjoyment in that, and that was more than the Team Sonic ever tried to give you. Which I gotta say they're pretty good at it because of Sonic Unleashed, where he's a werewolf, and then but when we're younger, we do have that filter of just like everything's awesome that's new. Like, for me, I remember playing the Star Wars fighting game, where you had, like, Luke Skywalker and Boba Fett in, like, a Mortal Kombat scenario where they're fighting each other. It's like, this sucks, but I am so stupid at that point in time that I really don't care. Where it's just like, yeah, they're punching each other.
That sounds awesome.
Oh, yes.
It's gotta be better than that Star Wars Kinect game.
Ooh, Now, wait... Now hold your darn horses. I gotta say that Star Wars fighting game did not have I'm Han Solo playing with Han Solo dancing in Cloud City. So, frankly, what you just said there was offensive.
Maybe.
How can anything be worse? I'm sorry, how can anything be better than Star Wars Kinect, good sir?
Maybe I'm wrong. I'll tell you what. It's probably better than Batman Origins. Oh boy!
I tell you, if Batman just started doing the Bat-Toozy and Catwoman and then the Riddler and Bane all joined in, yeah, that would be great.
Oh, I haven't talked about Arkham Origins with you.
Oh, yes. Well, please continue. I think the last time we were talking about it, you were just kind of getting into the meat and potatoes of the story.
Yeah, that was a while back, but I did do a review with Christian from the Better Gaming Bureau. We did a review on Arkham Origins, and
I did comment on.
Yes, I did see that. Thank you very much for that. And
thank you.
Yeah, I just got distracted there because I was just thinking about the new implementation on YouTube with Google Plus. So all the comments, I guess, go through Google Plus, which is, not the greatest.
Yeah, who the hell thought that was a good idea?
It's crazy because anyone can. I think the maximum you can type in there. I don't think there's a limit to it. They could just type in a whole goddamn short story on there, so you can get a lot of trolls going in ahead and typing like a long ass message. I think like before it was only like 150 characters max. Now it just seems limitless. Damn YouTube.
I like that. And now it's like what was it, like one of the co-creators of YouTube. Like he only uploaded like two things. One was like a video, which was like one of the first videos on YouTube ever, which was like me at a day going to the zoo, and just the video of him going to the zoo, and that's one of like the classic ones because it's one of the first videos on YouTube. And then the second thing he did was a comment that just said, "Why the fuck do I have to use Google Plus to make a comment?"
There we go.
And it's like, that definitely is a good showcase of things. And I don't understand why YouTube has done that. I thought they reached a really good point with their comment system, but this kind of seems like, once again, sort of like the Xbox One and PlayStation 4, trying to advance for the sake of advancing rather than because they need to.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. When you have such a good thing going for you, they always gotta muck it up.
All that mucky muck.
So that almost the same as Arkham Origins.
Ooh, yeah, I did hear your review, but I would like to hear it again, good sir.
Yeah, I could always kind of summarize it real quick, but for the podcast listeners who haven't heard the review of Arkham Origins, so yeah, basically it takes place before the Arkham Asylum. You start playing as a little bit of a younger Batman, going through kind of the first years of him fighting crime in Gotham City. Not a lot of people trust him. You think of him as a vigilante, or a monster. You get that. It kind of reminded me of the scene in the first original Batman when they're talking about being some type of monster, sucking blood and things like that. They kind of harken back to that and has some elements of Batman Returns because it takes place during or before Christmas, like Christmas Eve around that time. So you get to see some of the colorful and lightful parts of Arkham City lit up with the Christmas tree and such as you're exploring Gotham City.
Oh, very nice.
And yeah, I mean
it's like a Shane Black film. It all takes place.
Yeah, almost like that. I like to see Shane Black do a Batman movie. That'd be quite a spectacle.
Yeah, that would be a very interesting reboot idea. Like for the next Batman film, if they want everyone to do that, yeah.
Yeah, so the setup is, Black Mask puts a bounty on Batman, so that's where you get introduced to some of these other villains that you haven't get a chance to familiarize with that are in the Batman lore. There are definitely some other reoccurrences in there, alongside like the Penguin and Riddler and such. Yeah, I mean it's an okay game. Not certainly one I'd recommend. I still think the overall gameplay of it is really fine-toned in Arkham City. So if you haven't played Arkham City, I probably would recommend you go ahead and play Arkham City or Arkham Asylum. Those are relatively good games there. Yeah, I didn't really gel with me that much. The gameplay wasn't really there. I had some issues technically. The game froze a lot for me, even like during a cutscene or during the loading screen. It froze a lot. The gameplay wasn't as tight as Arkham City was. It felt like something was off because I really excelled at the Arkham City gameplay. I couldn't get into any of the combat challenges for it because the gameplay was really off to me. There was like a delay on the countering, and just that it didn't mesh well with me. And they added like a new weapon in there, like the electro gloves, where it's kind of like a one-hit takedown on some enemies. It kind of slows down the gameplay as well, because sometimes you'll just take out a lot of enemies real quick, and then you actually hit the air, and then you just kind of lose your combo. But it's not really as fine-tuned in terms of gameplay as Arkham City was. The story, it's okay. It kind of loses its track near the end of it. Not really the best. And people gave Arkham City's story a little bit of flack, but yeah, Arkham Origins is not great. It definitely shows that it's been made by a different developer. They did their best to kind of mix it up a little bit. Some of the boss battles, I think the Deathstroke boss battle was pretty good. If you didn't fail it a lot, if you didn't fail it, you'd probably get a good kick out of it. But it does get repetitive if you're not so good at it. But if you can get through like in one go and not mess up, it's a really intense boss battle. It does contain some quick time events, which it may or may not may or may not deter you from it. But it was a solid attempt, I will say. And it's just a lot of rehashing from the previous games. They call different weapons by different names. They're pretty much the same, but you don't have almost every weapon from Arkham City in there. Yeah, I mean, you get, like I mentioned, you could tell it was made by a different studio. So it's an average attempt. I wouldn't say it's the best of the series. So I probably would give that a pass.
I also I didn't get to play the game, but I did see a lot of the story and the cinematics on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. I will say that the highlights of it were those cinematics. The cinematics were really good for that game, and just some of the voice work performances were really good as well.
Who was the guy that got to replace Kevin Conroy? Because he did a very good job. Not Bruce Greenwood.
I don't recall his name, but he has worked on some other games. I try to remember which ones. I think he did the voice of Ezio.
Ezio Auditore de Firenze.
Because contrary to popular belief, I don't think Nolan North did the voice of Ezio. He just did the voice of Desmond. Yeah, so I think that guy that did Batman and Arkham Origins did the voice of Ezio. I don't know what other games he's done, but I do recall reading something that he did do the voice of Ezio. And but yeah, he did a solid job. I mean, there was definitely some points of dialogue where he almost sounded like Kevin Conroy.
Well, as hard as Kevin Conroy is kind of like what is to Batman what Heath Ledger was to Joker. He just did such an outstanding job, and the stuff that they wrote for him was so good for that character. That's hard to see anybody else in that image. And getting anybody else might seem, I don't know, hard to do. Almost near impossible, I think, to cast Batman, just because they've had such a great one before. And, I listening to him on the cinematics and stuff, I thought he did a good job. Good job. I liked it. Yeah. I didn't think it would be... I didn't have high expectations for his performance, but he did a very good job. I have to admit.
Yeah, he did exceptional. Yeah, that's a really, really all about it. I mean, I didn't have much expectations.
And also, what was it? Troy Baker is the Joker.
Yes, Troy Baker is quite the artiste. He did a good job as Joker. He's a great voice actor there. I mean, he can do anything, like Nolan North.
I'm sorry. What were you just talking about, Troy Baker?
Yes, he can do anything.
Oh, I apologize. Were you just saying he was awesome?
He was awesome.
Good. Then we're on the same page then. I did like that. That they have those in the mind moments of Batman, like they had for the Scarecrow for Asylum, and then in City they had the Mad Hatter, and now they kind of do the reverse of that, where they put the Joker in that sort of situation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say with what it is, but it's a very, very interesting take in terms of kind of how he sees Batman and how he looks at it, how they look at each other. And I like the fact. I don't know if I like the fact, but I thought it was interesting how they don't have as many. Even though the game sort of felt hyper realistic, where they had they had the Batman armor, they had a lot of they used the Unreal 3 engine very well. But this time they don't really have any supernatural characters. They don't Ivy. They don't have even something like Scarecrow. They don't have.
No, not really. I mean, they had. I mean, the closest you can get to that was probably early on. You fight Killer Croc, but that's really all about it.
Yeah, then they wipe him out of the picture kind of fast, where it's like, okay, now we're getting to the real meat.
Yeah. So.
And as Killer Croc, I didn't think the boss battle with him in Asylum was outstanding, but it was still good. And how do you feel about having the just fist fight with him? Just
in Origins, or just like in Asylum?
Origins in comparison to Asylum.
Well, he does. Compared to Asylum, I thought what they did in Origins was slightly a bit better. I mean, nothing too unique. It's kind of the same formula you kind of have with other giant brutes. You kind of avoid avoid his running attack on you by just jumping out of the way, or having him run into something, and or stun him like 3 times and then start punching the heck out of him. It wasn't anything too innovative, but it was a slightly better attempt at it than Asylum. But I will give Asylum credit for at least trying. I think that it was a good idea. It wasn't the best execution wise, but I mean it worked for that. It worked for that character.
Yeah,
it was consistent with that character, which was fine. But if I were to replay that again, I really wouldn't want to, because it's not the most exciting, and it can get really frustrating too.
I got you.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I do wonder. Do you think they'll ever actually make a? I know Rocksteady's working on their next game, but I do wonder if it's going to be a sequel to Arkham City, or maybe they'll do the Batman Beyond route. Well, they're just like, we won't do Batman anymore. We're going to do Terry McGinnis story.
I don't know. I mean, I would. I'm assuming I'm assuming they're working on another Batman game, but it would be pretty cool to see them work on a new IP. That'd be interesting. There hasn't been much said about exactly what they're working on, but they are working on a next gen game. That's for sure. That's why they didn't do Origins. They kind of just went the route of Assassin's Creed there for a little bit and just kind of pumped Origins out real quick.
Yeah.
In time for the holidays.
What's funny is that Arkham City came out like 6 months after the release of Arkham Asylum, and it was still like one of the best games of that year. Yeah, I mean,
I guess that shows you the type of developer Rocksteady is, and just like the slight improvements they made of the combat, and just the overall scope of things, of what you can do, taking it a bit more of a open world aspect, a more open space than previous to Asylum. It was kind of more contained, and there was not a lot where you can go, but it had enough space, but not as huge as Arkham City was in terms of its map. But looking forward to seeing what else they pump out. It's good stuff from Rocksteady's a good dev, from what we've obviously seen from them in Arkham Asylum. Definitely was the pinnacle of what the licensed games can do. I mean, they definitely put licensed games on the map there. I mean, it's one of the Batman Arkham Asylum was at first it was one of the best superhero games out there.
Yeah, Arkham City. Like, there have been a couple out there that have either been flukes or media that they've been building upon for years. And this one kind of just there have been Batman big games before, but never like this. And they came out of the gate, and it was already kind of Game of the Year material from the first get-go. Where even, as much as I love Spider-Man 2, there are some rough patches in there, especially nowadays looking back on them. But it's still a great game, but it's not Game of the Year quality for myself. And I gotta say, the Electrocutioner totally stole the boss battle from Mysterio in Spider-Man 2, the video game.
Yeah, that was one of the most greatest and unexpected boss fights I've ever encountered.
Because he's Batman, damn it, that's why.
It was amazing. The game had a few highlights, I will give it that. Like that moment, and then also the Joker moment. You get an idea of how he sees Batman. That was an awesome moment.
I do wonder if they can ever actually. The problem is that DC has built up the brand of the Joker and Batman being like Sherlock Holmes and Moriarty for so long, that I wonder if they can actually make a story without them, without the Joker and Batman still be kind of have an interesting tale. Whereas, the Dark Knight Rises was kind of disappointing. With what happens at the end of Arkham City, they kind of write Joker out of the equation for any possible sequels, or won't say kind of what happens. But they essentially, and then they go back to it with this one. It certainly feels like they're kind of using him as an anchor, and they can't ever seem to get away from him.
Right. I mean, I think it's possible. It just takes a lot. It takes a lot of just good writing. I mean, there's definitely a lot of other characters that you can maybe you reuse, and that's not the Joker, and have them be a central part of the next Batman game. I think you can see a lot of interesting things being done. Maybe more complex puzzle stuff with the Riddler, if they ever bring him back in the next Batman game.
That would be great if it was just like the next game he had to play, like Mind Game is just like a really insanely deadly game of Hexic, where you're just like moving blocks around and like knocking them down. It's like, listen, Riddler, I know you want to have games and ideas and deadly stuff, but can't you think of something else? Even Uno, damn it, come on.
I mean, that'd be interesting. I think there's a lot of there's a lot of villains that they can use. I think it's not entirely out of the equation. They can pull off a interesting Batman story without the Joker. I think it's possible.
Yeah, and I definitely think like the Hugo Strange and Ra's al Ghul story elements that they had in Arkham City could have made for their own interesting game, but they also decided to include them with the Joker subplot that they had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of stuff going on in the Arkham City plot. But I mean, regardless of that, I mean they improved upon so many things in the gameplay, which I think more than made up for it, and just had one of the best boss battles of that series. The Mr. Freeze boss battle was amazing.
Yeah. Mr. Freeze, Mr. Freeze is right up there with the end from Metal Gear Solid 3 in terms of just how much I enjoyed the hell out of that boss battle. It's challenging, it's fulfilling, it gets more difficult as you progress, but in a natural way. And I gotta say, just knock it out of the park.
So that's Arkham Origins there for you. Yeah, not the strongest entry of the series. It has some good highlights, but I mean, I would probably only recommend it if you can get it at probably this kind of price. I mean, I think a good $20-$30 would be fine. I mean, if you really want to play another Batman game, I mean that's the reason why I picked it up, because I wanted to play another Batman game. But it's a Batman game that's not as good as the previous Batman game, which is unfortunate because I really like the combat on it in Arkham City. So I always like replaying that and doing the combat maps. Just trying to get a high score every time. It's just really addicting. The combat maps for Arkham City, and playing it and being able to change skins is awesome too.
I don't know if we'd ever talked about this before, but it would seem very odd, like for any of the you playing a challenge room as Robin or Batman, and then you go to the animated series version of them, where they have like huge eyes and just like really exaggerated features, and it's just like, do you think the guys ever turn to themselves, and the bad guys have turned to themselves in that challenge room, like, what the hell happened to him? Oh my God, is he even near radiation? What the hell is wrong with him?
This turned into Space Jam right now.
Did you see the size of Batman's chin? You can land a plane on there.
Yeah, it is a bit weird playing as the animated series Batman. I mean, compared to like the just better detailed 3D characters, you're just kind of playing as a 3D 2D character. It's weird. It was awesome that you were able to do that. Give them props for putting it in there.
Absolutely. I do, but once again, that Batman Beyond costume still weirds me out to this day. Just because, like, the animated version of it, it looks cool, just because it's the animated version of it. But in, like, the game, it looks like, okay, this is just some guy you strip naked and painted black. It doesn't really look like anything cool. And then, like, super glued some, like, hot wings to his ears, so they just looked like they like pointing up.
Yeah, very weird. It was almost like Spawn, a Spawn body type.
That you know what? That definitely needs a Christopher Nolan reboot. Spawn. It's like, no, the demons are hallucinations that he's having because he's actually an alcoholic and a drug addict. There. Very super serious.
Inception.
And then, I'm sorry?
Inception sound effect.
Oh, Incepcione. I do like Christopher Nolan, and I'm really looking forward to Interstellar. I just was not big of a fan of Dark Knight Rises, and with everybody who worked on Man of Steel, I was really looking forward to. Like, they had Zack Snyder directing, they had Goyer writing, and then they had Nolan producing, which is like, okay, that sounds like a really good team together, and then it just didn't.
Didn't mesh well for you. I hear you.
Mm-hmm.
So is there
It just is Superman. No, I don't think it's hard to write that kind of character. I think that like Superman, he's always a character who's, because he's so good and because he's so pure, it's hard to write interesting conflicts where it doesn't seem obvious. Like, okay, he's just gonna be himself at the end of the thing. But if you ever see the movie on Netflix, Superman vs. the Elite, I am not a big fan of the animated movies except for Under the Red Hood. But I saw that one and I was like, wow, why wasn't this one the Man of Steel movie? Just because that was really, really good. And I suggest everyone go check it out. It's an amazing story that happens to feature Superman.
I'll definitely gotta check that out. I've seen a couple of the animated stuff. I've seen a lot of it, actually. Recently with the Dark Knight Returns anime movie, that was pretty good. I saw both of the Batman and Superman team up animated movies. Those were fine.
Doom?
Yeah, Doom I think was.
Doom.
Not the one with the Rock, but that's a topic for another discussion.
How in the world can you not love Carl Urban and The Rock together? Simple 5, motherfucker.
So, is there anything else that you want to talk about that's on your mind before we head out here, good sir?
You know what? I think I am satiated for now. It is 11 o'clock. I'm still working off of the coma that I got from ingesting all that turkey and all that tryptophan, working it off.
Yeah.
But no, I'm all good. There isn't really anything going on right now in video game news, but I'm looking at seeing what happens next, especially with the holiday season kind of coming around.
Yeah, same here. I'm looking to see what happens in terms of the world of video games and such. It was nice to catch up and just talk about what we've been playing mostly, and just kind of go on some tangents like we usually do on just random things. But it was a nice one. It was a nice one there. I look forward to updating you on what's going on in my Resident Evil 4 playthrough.
Ooh, I'll make sure to catch up with that. Is it on your YouTube page?
It's on the YouTube. I don't have everything. I don't have everything since I started it, but I have snippets of what I've recorded on my stream so far on YouTube, and I did do one today, like I mentioned. I'm gonna upload that later, and I might go into streaming it a bit later on tonight. Who knows?
GTA 5 shenanigans with Splinter 47. I'm going to be watching all these.
Yes, a lot of content there for you to enjoy.
Ooh, I love this one. Okay, I got you, man. Now I'll be checking them all out.
All right, appreciate it. So it was nice catching up with you there, and thanks everyone for taking a listen here for episode 145. And you have yourself a good week, good night, a good day. And if you have any turkey leftovers, be sure to send it our way here. I could go for a turkey sandwich right now.
Send it to us at splinternch at 1583779249 Slabbers Hale Drive, Canada, United States.
I think that'll fit on the label just perfectly.
Yeah. Don't even worry about the zip code. You don't need the zip code. Why are you asking about the zip code? It's fine. Just send it off.
All right, everybody. Have a great night.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.